Go. Welcome. Today we're going to do
up?
what he said. What's up? I done lost train of thought. All right, we're doing literal equations. I'm sure you can read it better than I can say it, so let's jump right in. These don't have really any numbers yet. You're dealing with variables.
Letters.
Yay! What makes kids go, oh, I'm confused. So x plus y equals g. Doesn't make any sense to people. But we're going to solve it for a specific letter, and I'm going to say for y. So solve this equation to say y equals. Well, doing everything like we did before on all the equations we've solved. Okay, y is right there. I want to isolate it. I'm going to minus whatever x is. Well, if that's not an x, so it's not a like term, so I'm just going to put minus x right beside it. And we're done. That's it. Boom. Y is equal to whatever g minus x is. Game changer.
That wasn't too hard, right?
See if his is any harder over there.
Okay, over here we have AB equals C. Remember, whenever we have, whether it's two letters, a number and a letter, and they're right beside each other, it means they're being multiplied. So A times B equals C. Let's say we were asked to solve for, we'll go solve for B. Right, we're going to solve for B. So let's get B by itself. Well, we already decided this means multiplication. So to get the B by itself, we should simply just divide by A to both sides. Right, so I'm going to rewrite that as B equals C over A, or C divided by A. Now B's by itself.
Sweet. Yeah, let's drag this one up a little bit. Move it a little easier. We're going to work this one out twice because students tend to get confused on it a little bit. I'm going to solve it first for the easier letter, for W. So I'm going to rewrite this to get the W by itself. So what's being done to it over here is being divided by y. Inverse operation times y. Times W, then r times y is rye. So W equals rye. Yay! But this time I'm going to switch it. We're going to try and solve it for y. Why's that small? Okay, come on. So this time we're going to try and isolate the y.
Solve for Y.
So before we start, is the W dividing the Y or is the Y dividing the W? Well, I can't do an inverse really here. That's going to leave this side as just Y equals something. So one of our standards talks about rearranging things to find a way to look at it differently and solve it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rearrange that Y. As you've seen the previous way we did it, I times Y, and it was no longer down here. Becomes y over y, or 1 times y. So now I've rewritten it and it looks like this. Well, now it looks just like what Ramsey did over there. And we can divide by the r, and we'll find out that y is equal to w divided by r. So sometimes just move stuff around, doing your operations, you can solve it easier. Move it out your way.
Yeah.
Get me out. Get you in. Sorry.
Oh, sweet. All right, this time we've got P minus H equals K. So this time let's solve for the letter H. So we're going to get H by itself, right? So just like we were when we're solving just regular equations, same thing, but they're just all letters. We can still do it. So to get the H by itself, I'm going to move the P to the other side. Right? So I'm going to subtract P to both sides. I'm going to rewrite it, and I now have negative H equals K minus P. And I'm done now, right? No. Hopefully you said no. Because we have a negative H. If there's still a negative over there, then that letter, the H, is not by itself. We've got to get the H by itself. So what should we do? Well, just like we would do if we were solving 1- and 2-step equations, we're going to divide by a negative 1. So I'm going to divide by negative 1 to both sides. So now my H is by itself. And essentially all that's going to do is just change the signs of our k and our p. So that now becomes a negative k plus p, right? You could have also written, p minus k. That'd be the same thing. It doesn't matter what order you would write that in. Right? So now we have solved for h. So let's keep moving forward and see what else we got.
All right.
Ooh, a little bit more.
And you can try these ahead of us if you
Digging a little deeper.
So here we're going to solve it for x. So remember when we had two-step equations, we'd have something that looks like this, equals like 15. It's kind of the same thing. Here's the variable term I want to solve for, kind of like this, and then there's a constant, just a number we're adding. So when we did those, we always got rid of that constant first. So that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to minus c. So now that's become nothing. So we're left with w times x equals r minus c. And here, there's two ways you can write it after this step. I don't care, whichever you choose. Divide by w. You might see people write it like that. It's more common to me. And say this is the answer. Or we could say r over w minus c over w. Technically, they're the same thing. So it depends on who your teacher is. We don't care, so whichever one.
All right, looking over here. It looks like there's, it's a lot longer of a problem. Don't let it freak you out. We're going to solve it the same way. Let's solve again for the letter Q. So we're going to solve for Q. So again, that means we've got to get Q by itself. I'm going to change colors over here. So it doesn't matter which letter you guys want to move first. Obviously, I'm going to move them all three together just to kind of save time. So I'm going to subtract the Y, subtract the P, and subtract the C. Essentially, we're just going to change the signs. But minus Y to the other side, minus C to the other side, and minus the P to the other side. Right? So now, these are all going to be moved over. So I'm going to rewrite that as negative Q. That's now equal to M minus Y minus P minus C. A lot of negatives up there now. Just like we did in our previous example, it's not quite by itself yet. Right? What do we have to do? We've got to divide by negative. Essentially, all that's going to do is change the signs of each of our letters over here. So we've now got Q equals a negative M plus Y plus B plus C. Now, the order of all these letters, it doesn't matter. You could have said, Y minus M plus P plus C. You could have started with the C. The order doesn't matter. As long as you're solving for whatever letter they asked you to solve. In this case, it was to solve for Q.
Right, moving on, I got a new example here. Kind of like the one I had before, just wanted to show you that we can divide by multiple letters at the same time. So I'm going to solve this for R in this one. So variable terms here. Go ahead and minus the x from both sides. Get rid of our constant. So now I need to get rid of w and p. Well, they're all multiplied each other. So whatever w times p is, I can divide by that. Cancel it out here. So I'm going to divide by w and p. Divide by w and p. They will go away. So we're left with r equals k minus x. Whatever that answer is, divided by w times p. Again, if you want to try these ahead of us, you can. We threw numbers in.
Click pause.
Do it the same way. You just might have to simplify something. Got this one?
Okay, all right. Hopefully you guys gave it a try. So, again, they may ask us to solve for W. They may ask us to solve for C, whatever the case may be. Let's solve for W in this one. we're going to solve for W. In other words, we want to get the letter W by itself. So just like we would if this was a one-step, two-step equation, right? We're going to move the 3C term. Remember, that's one term, 3C. We're going to move 3C to the other side. And that's by subtraction. Minus 3C. So now I have 2W equals 4R minus 3C. Right? So hopefully, again, you guys went ahead and worked ahead and solved for W on your own. But now, just like we would, again, in a two-step equation, to get that W by itself, we have to do the opposite of what's going on, 2W, so it's being multiplied. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 2 to each term. Again, it doesn't matter if you want to put, divided by 2, or just draw one big line. As long as you remember to divide both terms by the 2. So now we've got the W by itself here. Now we're going to do 4R divided by 2, or just 4 divided by 2. So that's 2R. And then negative 3C divided by 2. That could give you a decimal. It's already going to be in simplified form, so I'm going to leave it as a fraction. So minus 3 halves C. So now we've got W equals 2R minus 3 halves C. 1.5C would have been perfectly fine as well.
All right. So now I'm going to give you another example. Try it again on your own.
Give it a try.
And here we go. I like blue. So I'm going to solve it. I didn't take it with software, did I? Ha! I'm an idiot. Yeah. Yeah, let's go G.
Ooh, solving for G.
Like Mr. Gregg. Try to get it right.
He's a G.
An old G. Alright, so again, there's your variable term. Constants. Let's just move them over there. Plus P gets rid of this. Minus W gets rid of that. Again, ACT speed, I'm not going to rewrite this just because, bam, that's a lot quicker. Speed kills, just like in all sports. So divide by 7. You can put everything by 7. Leave that as your answer. Or you can say 3/7 x plus 1/7 p minus 1/7 w. Either way works. Just got to be savvy and know which one is the right answer in your test. Alright, here we go. Solving for R.
Alright, solving for R. So this one, if you went ahead and clicked pause and worked ahead, hopefully you can see, that this one is honestly pretty simple. To get this R by itself, I know it's on the right side, but that doesn't matter. All you would have to do is just simply move the G to the other side. Right? So I'm going to rewrite that. I'm going to keep the R on the right side just so you guys can see it. But here's an option. R is now by itself. Negative G plus L over K equals R. We didn't have to do any multiplication or division here, right? So this is one way to write the answer. It can also be written, something like this. L over K minus G equals R, right? Both are, except, it doesn't matter which way you want to write these. Here, we're minusing a G. Here, I guess technically you have a negative G. But it means the same thing. And obviously it can also be written with the R over here on the left side of the equal sign. Now, both accepted, right? All three of these are, the same answer. It could be written in different ways. Our standards tell us that they can be kind of reversed, moved around. As long as you have the signs in the correct places, though, it's going to be correct.
All right. Next one here, solve it for C. Yep, I can get it to relocate.
Oh, yeah.
That's enough out of my way. Solve it for C, so it's stuck up top with the B. So let's get rid of this F that's multiplying everything. Multiply by F, multiply multiply this side by f each term. So here I'm going to leave it pretty much written like this. F times whatever x plus y is. Or if you want to, you could go fx plus fy and just rewrite it. But to me that takes too long because I'm writing another f. I don't want to write as much as, I want to write as little and least as possible. So I'm just going to leave it like that. Equals, now it's b minus c. So now I need to subtract the b from this whole thing. So it's a couple ways I could write it. I could go plus the negative b, kind of like minus b. But I'm going to write it how you would think. So I'm going to go f x plus y minus b equals negative c. We don't want a negative c answer, we want what c is, so we're going to multiply by negative 1 or divide by negative 1, whichever your teachers have taught you, I don't care which. So I'm going to multiply by negative 1, we'll change that into a positive, and multiplying by negative 1 changes everything's sign, so it'll make this f a negative f times the x plus y. And then this will be a plus b. And there's your answer. We got 3 more slides. We'll try and go a little quicker for you. Try it on your own. Each time we flip to a new slide, then we're just going to fly through it now.
All right, so we're solving for x, so we'll kind of go pretty quickly. Hopefully you guys are getting the hang of it here. We're going to solve for x, so I'm going to go ahead and move this h to the other side by multiplying. We're doing the opposite. So I now have 12x minus 15. Again, I'm just rewriting my numerator because I got rid of my denominator. 12x minus 15 equals 3h times z. Since we're multiplying again, we can just kind of write it all together. Again, solving for x, I'm going to go ahead and move my 15 over. By adding, I now have 12x equals 3hz plus 15. We got one more step. We're going to divide by the 12. Dividing each term by 12. I'm just going to draw one big line and a 12. So I'm going to rewrite that here. X equals, so 3 divided by 12. Hopefully you can see that that can reduce, right? 3 will go into 3 one time. 3 will go into 12 4 times. So 1/4 hz. And then our 15 divided by 12, yes, that would give us a decimal. We can write 15 over 12 and simplify that. Right? 3 would go into 15 5 times. 3 would go into 12 4 times. So x is equal to 1/4 hz plus 5/4. There's nothing else you can combine. Hopefully that's what you guys came up with whenever you tried it on your own.
I ain't holding my breath. Alright, next one. Woo! Again, these are numbers, so you treat them as such, we just don't know what they are.
Again, try it on your own if you haven't yet. Click pause, give it a try.
Timing. No, that's the tag. I'm on base, y'all can't get me anyway. Alright, so solve for B. B's right there with that. So, what is dividing A times B? W plus V, whatever that number is. So, I need to multiply by whatever W plus V is. So, W plus V, in parentheses, whatever that number is what I'm going to multiply by. Don't know what it is, so I just write it as such, W plus V. Okay, so A times B should be equal to R times whatever W plus V is. And the last step, divide by A. There's our answer. Divide by A. Yay. And that's probably the way you'll see it written. So hopefully you got it right. We'll do some TikToking and whatnot. Get it right on the next slide.
Whoa. Hey, you guys recognize any of these literal equations?
That looks like money. Cha-ching.
What is P equals 2L plus 2W? Think about it for a second. Hopefully, you're starting to recognize, oh, we got a hint. There's a hint. Hopefully, you're recognizing this is the equation for perimeter, right? For perimeter. So, yes, we're used to P equals 2L plus 2W, or 2 lengths and 2 widths to find P. But you may be asked to solve this literal equation for L. So let's solve it for L. Let's solve for the L. We're going to try to get the L by itself. Solving for L. So to do that, we're going to move the 2W over to the other side. And again, it's nothing different. We just recognize this equation. So I'm going to subtract 2W to the other side. I'm going to now rewrite that. I'm going to rewrite my 2L first. So 2L equals, don't let me confuse you, all I did was I'm now writing this on the left side, right? And then now we have P minus 2W. P minus 2W. Again, we're solving for L, so we're just going to simply divide by the 2, because this is being multiplied. So I'm going to divide by 2 to both terms. Hopefully you guys are kind of remembering what is understood to be beside this P. A 1, right? Technically there's a 1. So when I divide by 2, I'm technically saying 1 divided by 2. So that's a 1/2 P. And then over here I've got a negative 2W. Don't forget about your negative. So negative 2 divided by 2 would be a minus 1W. Or just minus W. Right, so now we solve for L. So L equals 1/2 P minus 1W. That's also an equation for perimeter. It can kind of all go hand in hand. Right? You guys have probably noticed the area equation as well, right? Area equals, or A equals LW, length times width, right? Well, we could also solve this literal equation. Instead of solving for A, let's solve for W. This one obviously pretty simple, just by simply dividing by L, right? So now I'm going to write it up here. W equals A over L, or area divided by length. That makes sense. If you know the area and you know the length, well, take your area, divide by the length. It'll give you the width. Not too crazy.
Principal equals, not irritated, but interest times rate times time. Money, money, money. So we just divide by any combination there to solve that. This one's pretty straightforward. We can divide by the RT to get I, IR to get T. Pretty straightforward. Kind of like your speed and time and science. And here's your last one. This is the level we want you to be at. If you find any other surface area formulas online, try and rewrite them. Pretty much take this as a note, because you may see these again on our test.
Print this out, copy it all down, however you want to do it. This is a good note to have.
Yeah. Do this. And we're done. That is it.
Until
Hopefully
next
it's a short
time.
lesson.